Hey there friends, I'm Andrew from the Scrapbox, and today we're taking your FNAF OCs and making them into LEGO minifigures. If you're new here, I make LEGO projects, I love FNAF, not you though, and I also make a bunch of other projects and animations, which is great for July, because in July there is Art Fight. And because you're a smart cookie, I bet you know exactly where this is going. I'm gonna be taking people's FNAF OCs, turning them into LEGO minifigures, and creating our very own rock band. Then we're gonna take that band and recreate the security breach intro as a LEGO animation. But of course, that means there must be rules. And I hate rules. What is Art Fight? Art Fight is a website where in the month of July, hundreds of thousands of people form different factions, add their original characters, or OCs, and then you pick other people's characters and you make art of them. The more detailed the art, the more points you earn for your team. And since OCs can be from anything, there are tons of FNAF OCs, which means we have many potential victims. But which characters do we pick for the band? Well, the original band had some very distinct features. They're all different animals, they all play different instruments, and they all have different color combos. And that's about it. So as long as we can find 4 characters meeting those standards, then we're good to go. Should be easy. Let's get to it. Quick before we begin, obvious warning. I don't know any of these artists, I just like their art. They could be a real-life Clark Kent or a real-life William Afton. I don't know. That's probably super obvious for most people, but they only slap these types of labels on things after the fact, so I thought better safe than sorry. Alright, let's begin. First up, we have Dawson, a character designed by Water Parks. Or maybe it's a prescription for something called Waterpaw. This character immediately stood out to me because of how well Water Parks got the assignment. In Security Breach, the characters share the same base body depending on if they're a mask or femme character, and you could clearly see Dawson follows that mold. Second, Dawson is a deer, or a buck depending on your specifics, which is a great homage to the cast of woodland characters in the original game. Plus, I don't think I've ever seen another deer OC, making Dawson pretty unique. This guy also plays the drums, which is a good start for our band. Onto the decals. Now designing his body is pretty straightforward. I know in the past I've tried to do brick-built versions of FNAF mascots and animatronics, but we're just gonna stick with the classic minifigure body for now, as it's much simpler and more recognizable at a distance. I did debate for a long time on if I should add his choker to the torso itself, as I wanted to give him those 3D shoulder pads, and I was worried about how it would look at the end. But then I saw that by adding a 3D element, LEGO accidentally gave Nightcrawler a crop top, and suddenly I feel a little less self-conscious about my design decisions. He's rocking that crop top, by the way. The only downside to Dawson is there's no reference for his back. Some people, as you'll see later on, give full turnarounds for their characters. But complaining about this would be the pot calling the kettle black, as I never give a full reference sheet. And mine should be extra easy, as some of them are already fully modeled, I just gotta rotate them. I guess this is a rambling way of saying I'm making up the back. Just whatever I think looks nice. Except, of course, I forgot the one thing this photo does show, a tail. I'll make sure to stick that on after the render so we don't end up with another Jack situation.
What the? Where's my tail?
Dawson has the basic animatronic arms, and due to some time travel shenanigans, I already have some spiked cuffs on hand. I can't believe I just genuinely said that, not as a pun. Man. Now, the legs are often the hardest decals because you have to take legs, which are generally cylindrical, and you've got to get them to fit a square frame.
The square hole.
Normally it's not too big of an issue, but sizing and lining up patterns can be a bit tricky. But we've done it, our decals are done, and now we just need a... oh dear. This looks like a job for Blender. Now every Blender project starts with a cube that must be destroyed. Cursed cube, be gone! Perfect. While LEGO does have a molded deer head in their Animal Crossing theme, unfortunately, LEGO's Studio program doesn't have any Animal Crossing heads. So I got the next best thing.
That's a pig.
Oh yes, but with the power of editing, we could make it not a pig.
Hey, that's just crazy enough to work.
Cue the montage.
some of these. Almost there, and...
Hey, that actually worked. And it only took an hour and a half. Still not too shabby for a head sculpt. And altogether, Dawson is looking amazing. I'll get him a little Lego drum set later on, but this means on our checklist we've got a deer, drums, and the colors blue and purple. We're looking good. Glamrock Crystal, designed by Galaxy Guts. A fantastically terrifying name. It's got alliteration, space, and gross, visceral imagery. I'm picturing our entire existence as the digestive system of Cthulhu. Neat. Crystal was actually the first character I chose for a couple of reasons. The style reminded me of... Hold on, I got it. I got this somewhere. There we go. Old Disney concept art, where it holds wonderful detail while still keeping the raw energy of sketch lines. I'm a fan of concept art, what can I say? We've also got a full turnaround and extra references, making my job super easy. Plus, my brain immediately can pick out perfect Lego pieces for parts of her design. She's a singer, and a completely different color scheme from Dawson. Plus, we've got to pander to the mainstream audience a little bit, making Crystal perfectly cast for the crew. Now, I didn't show this for Dawson, but the first thing I normally do is transfer colors into official Lego colors, as Lego has a very finite color palette that they stick to. Mostly. And with our color scheme in mind, I can show you the second time I made Crystal. Why the second time, you ask? Well, gather around, it's time for a story. For the story, you need to know two things. One, Bob is the neighbor right next to me, and he sucks. Everybody despises Bob. And two, this is an average day for me. I cut the story in half for time, but on Friday, I picked up my neighbor from her appointment one city over. An old couple had a hissy fit, blocking the entire checkout for 5 minutes. Bob spilled car oil all along the sidewalk street and next to my front door. An army of ants ate my donut. Bob got a portable kitty sprinkler and left it on for 12 hours and wouldn't let anybody turn it off. I learned the advanced inner workings of an oven and found out my igniter was broken. No dinner for me, and that was on top of normal everyday stuff. I go to bed at 1 a.m. and on Saturday morning, I'm woken up bright and early because Bob is causing some sort of havoc outside. Doing what? I don't know. He loves to yell at things. Once I'm awake, there's no going back to sleep, so I walk Pepper, I do my workout, I shower, I check emails because I'm expecting 3 packages, 2 weights, and one of the 2 gifts for a friend's birthday. The weight should be delivered in the morning, but the gift hasn't updated in 5 days, and now it just says package acceptance pending. That one's from eBay, and you guys probably know how I feel about eBay. Then I get a text from a neighbor down the way, and they ask me to pick up her package as she's camping for the weekend. I say sure, and then I meander all the way over there, and it turns out the package is a full bookcase. It's not the weight that matters, it's the burliness, it's the giants. Have you ever tried to cross a busy street with a giant package blocking half your field of view? Don't do it. But I did it anyways. However, when I left to go get their package, there was a strange lady in her 60s with a small dog shuffling right outside my front door. Like, I almost hit her when I opened the door. That's how close she was. But whatever, people walk by all the time. When I return with the package 5 minutes later, she's only moved 3 feet. Really weird. She says, "Oh, my dog is having trouble pooping." Whatever. I go get some work done, check a half hour later, and guess what? The lady's still there. She's not doing anything, she's just standing there, now about 10 feet from my door, ominously. What am I gonna do? I'm not gonna yell, "Get off my lawn," at an old lady and her dog. So I go back to work, get a little over an hour and a half in, working on Crystal here, and suddenly, all the power goes out. And me, because I'm a dum-dum, I did not save. I lost all my work, including all the decals, and basically, Crystal's full head. That's my bad for not saving, but it turns out the whole neighborhood has lost power. And everyone's outside, asking each other, well, what happened? And no one's doing anything about it, so I decide to find out what happens. I take Pepper outside again to walk a couple blocks and see what the fuss is about. Usually there's a crash on a particular corner when this happens, but to get there, I have to pass the dog banshee. You see, there's an old lady who sits outside all day, every day, who I normally steer clear from because... Pepper is working on not barking at people. She was a street dog, so she barks at people. She's afraid of them. And... she's doing a very good job, except this old lady has one goal. High-pitched screeching at any dog who passes by and then giving them treats when they bark at her. I do not like this woman. She's a very nice lady. I do not like her because she's reinforcing Pepper's bad behavior, and just like that, Pepper then proceeds to run up to and loudly bark at every other person on our way to the crash. However, when we get there, the crash is being cleaned up already, so I get all the way back home, sweating profusely, just as the power comes back on. And 5 minutes later, FedEx drops off my 2 new weights. Except, they don't. They drop off one, abscond with the second one, and then use the same photo of the first one as proof of delivery for both. Cue 30 minutes of an AI chatbot as I try to get hold of a real person, only for the real person to go, "It hasn't been 48 hours yet, so you can't report this item missing." By the time I'm done, Bob has the walls shaking with music. I'm not really one to care about people loudly playing music, but when it gets to the point where frames are falling off the walls and things are falling off shelves, maybe you should turn it down a bit. On a positive note, I go to check the mail and a Bricklink order has arrived. I made this order for my friend's second gift, as she really wanted the Underminer. Yes, from Incredibles. The only people selling it had nothing else in their shops, but I found someone selling all of his parts separately, which is great. A bit of a panic earlier in the week when they said that some of my order was out of stock, but it turned out to be the part that I needed for the perfect prototype from Poppy Playtime, which is a bummer, but I said as long as all the Underminer pieces are present, we are good. So they finally arrived, and you guessed it, the legs are missing. Of course they are. Luckily, they're just reddish-brown mini legs, and I was able to rip a pair off another figure. And at this point, it's only noon on Saturday. Later in the day, I was talking to my friend, and they were telling me for their Saturday, they woke up at 11, watched TV, ate a burrito, played some video games, and that was about it. And at this point, I've had an unsettling revelation. Do other people not live their lives in a constant state of, "Weird stuff will not stop happening"? Over the past week, I've had to return 2 lost dogs, destroy a wasp net in front of my window, replace an unrelated window screen, jumpstart someone's car, destroy a wasp nest again because they try to rebuild it, organize 5,000 Lego pieces, help someone set up their internet, hand deliver 2 packages that weren't mine, but FedEx delivered them to me. Come on, FedEx. You know better. I took a friend to the ER, I made sure my neighbors weren't getting burgled, that was a whole story for later, and I had a very allergic reaction to some sort of bug bite. And that's on top of my normal scheduled stuff, and that's the only stuff I bother to remember. Because these aren't exceptional days, it's every day that has this baseline of chaos to it. I'm probably just overreacting, but it feels like my life has FromSoft levels of commotion, and then I look over at my friends, and they're all playing Animal Crossing. And wouldn't you know it, as I'm typing this, I hear a commotion outside, and I look through my window to find Bob has turned over his full garbage can and is spreading his garbage bags on the shared lawn and opening them up. Why? Just why? And I know if I go outside later, it's gonna become my problem somehow. Anyways, I made this head twice, and I just don't think I nailed it the second time. I might go back later and fix it, and I do end up changing the eyes, but it's not a bad head overall, it's just not where I'd like it to be, you know? Also, you can see the time travel right here because the leather cuffs shown earlier were actually made here. I also had to take a 2-hour detour while posing this figure because I was trying to upgrade my LEGO figure's armature with inverse kinematics, which is a very fancy term that means the elbows and knees automatically bend when you move the limbs. However, even though I followed all the same instructions that I have for the other models, and those ones have all worked, each time I would finish rigging it, the minifigure would look just fine, it'd move fine, and then randomly, it'd explode. But not in a cool way like that, it just randomly becomes something like this. I ended up stealing my armature from another character and simplifying it, so we're all good now, and Crystal is complete and ready to entertain. Whew! Let's check the list. Our band is starting to shape up nicely. Our third member is Ricky Rooster, designed by... oh no.
She got a knife!
And Knife here has some excellent art for their animatronic, who focuses more on the adult section of the Pizzaplex. They've also got some excellent references designed by others. Their names are on the bottom, but their links didn't end up going anywhere, but I'm sure someone will recognize them. Also, why is he looking at me like that? Staring at me with those bedroom eyes. I don't know. Nah, it's not doing anything for me. Let's make him anyways. For Ricky the Rockin' Rooster, I will admit I slightly fudged the color scheme just a bit. His main outfit color much more resembles the bright light orange color instead of yellow, but I'm hoping no one's gonna stuff me into an animatronic suit for shifting one shade over to yellow. Why? Because Crystal already has orange and red in her color scheme, so phasing slightly to yellow would help us keep the color combinations unique. And at the end of the day, Ricky is a rock star who knows the importance of not clashing with your bandmates' apparel. So with that settled, Ricky's legs were actually surprisingly easy to manage, and I thought for sure I was gonna mess up the lightning bolt as it has to travel across that 90-degree angle of the leg, but in the end, it matches up pretty dang well. The only regret I have about his decals, and this isn't against his design at all, but the other 3 members do end up having spiked cuffs on their arms, and so I feel like Ricky is a little left out in that regard. But with the decals done, it's now on to the hard part. Ricky needs a head and a rooster tail. For the head, You're gonna have to trust the process. I chose the Roadrunner head, and besides the fact that they're both birds, they don't really have much structural similarities. But trust the vision here. If we work just a little bit of modeling magic and fast forward time at 100 times its normal speed, we can travel from Roadrunner to Ricky Rooster in just a matter of seconds. Ta-da! And as I paint his face, I was torn because it does say that the sunglasses are optional, and since it wouldn't really be feasible to add them as part of the sculpt, I didn't include them on the model. But as you'll see in a second, I did make a pair of sunglasses that magically float atop his beak in his animations. It definitely wouldn't work as a real Lego piece, but it looks cool, so we're keeping it. I also turned the turkey tail into a rooster tail, which, because of the fact that it's really thin, ended up being a huge hassle. Plus, I had to paint its texture twice because after I painted it the first time, I edited the base of the tail just a little bit, and Blender decided, now it's different. Start the texture paint all over. But we got it done in the end. And there he is. Tell that Robin to get out of here because now we've got a rockin' rooster. That's a 1958 Bobby Day reference right there. And with 3 members in, we've got quite the unique collection, and I definitely haven't accidentally backed my way into a corner. You guys, I backed myself into a corner. In our color scheme, we're missing our pinks and our greens, and we need someone who plays maybe the keyboard or guitar, but I couldn't find someone who had both qualities. But I did find Jade the mouse, whom I'm enamored with. A unique design by Kiara, and their lore states they're friends with Roxy, so it wouldn't be too far of a jump to say Jade plays guitar too. But Jade, despite the name, features orange and aquamarine for their color scheme, which is definitely not the pink and green we need.
Why don't you just ask if you could change it?
That's actually not a bad idea.
My goodness, what an idea.
Why didn't I think of that?
You see, every art fight character has permissions, which are simple rules about what the artist does or doesn't want to receive, vis-a-vis any phobias the artist may have or special needs. As an extreme example, it might say, don't give me art of you chopping my characters into itty-bitty pieces. That would be bad, because a lot of people are squeamish around gore. Or, don't send animations with flashing lights if the artist has epilepsy. Things like that. Some people are very laid back about their characters, and some are very picky and don't want you changing anything about the character, including their outfit. More on that later. Jade says, nothing at all. Well, good thing their artist was on 15 minutes ago. I'll just send them a quick message and make sure it's okay to change her outfit.
Alrighty then.
You know what they say, it's better to ask permission, and then when you don't get an answer, you can ask for forgiveness later. Or something like that. So I transfer the rest of Jade into Lego colors and then begin the decal process. And I just wanted to circle back. Ooh, that sounds businessy.
I just wanted to circle back and touch base about the permission requirement again.
Oof, I hate that. Over the past couple weeks, I've seen a lot of people complaining on TikTok about how they're not getting attacks in Art Fight. And since I love attacking random artists, a phrase that's gonna sound awful out of context, I went to check out a lot of their profiles, and a lot of them had really cool characters. So why aren't they getting attacks? Well, I took a peek at their permissions, and instead of the basics, no gore, nothing suggestive, etc., they said things like this. You must draw my character baking.
You have to draw character A with character B at all times. They're never apart.
Don't draw my characters in any other art styles. You can't post the art you made of my character on any of your social media. And so forth, and so forth. And I'm sure you, yes you the viewer, can see the big blatant issue. The permissions are there to help people have a fun, comfortable, and consensual time. The permissions are not there for you to tailor-make a magical free commission piece for yourself. No wonder you're not getting attacks. If character A has to be with character B, then anyone who makes your art is signing up for twice the work, and people don't want to do that. I saw someone with an Undertale character and they said any art had to be made in the game's art style, which isn't a style most people make art in. Plus, they didn't even draw their character in that style. I guess to put it nicely, you can't force people to give you elaborate art prompts for free. You gotta let them do what they want. Or to quote the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you'll find you get what you need. Or, to quote Jimmy Pesto,
You're dumb, you're all dumb.
but on a more positive note, Kiara responded. Oh, this is actually terrifying. Oh, thank goodness, because I just finished all of the work. Except for the head, which is based off this nondescript mouse-like head of a legally distinct character I've never seen before, wink wink. And once again with the power of holding down fast forward, because I already lived the half hour sculpting the head, we don't all need to relive it, I turned that Mouseketeer into trademarked Fazbear Entertainment property. She also gets a mouse tail, and Lego has a keytar piece. They even have their infamous backwards keytar piece, but it's not available on Studio, so I made Jade one from scratch. And once all is said and done, Jade looks absolutely lovely. 4 characters, all different animals, instruments, and color sets. And now's the part where I realize if I want to make the intro scene to the game, I'm gonna have to build some Lego sets. That's right. All the scenes will use Lego parts, because I always hated in the games when there would be Lego figures and then just random non-Lego textures for most of the backgrounds.
Disgusting.
But while I cobbled together some hauls and basic animations, now would be the perfect time to thank my wonderful Patreon members. This motley crew of only mildly possessed animatronics are the glue that holds this channel together. Not only do these wonderful people support all my weird and crazy endeavors, but none of them, that I know of, have ever tried to bite off my frontal lobe. And I can't just say that about anyone. On a serious note though, this summer has been a lot, and there have been many days where it gets past 90 degrees in this workspace, so it's really nice to know that these guys have my back whenever I need to slow down, mostly because I'm dying of dehydration. You guys truly are the spring locks that keep my body in one unpunctured piece. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and without further ado, may I present my final art fight animation for this year. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Fazbear Entertainment would like you to put your hands together for our newest members of the Fazbear family. I didn't know how to end the animation. And there you have it. I really like it. I actually had a lot of fun designing these custom OCs. And for a while, I've been debating if I should make a little series where I turn people's OCs into minifigures. This was a great opportunity because Art Fight is literally about making art of people's OCs. But if this video does well, maybe I'll look into, I know on Instagram, people can send photos and stuff. Maybe to Patreon members? I don't know. We'll see how this video does. And if it does well, you might be seeing more OCs in the future. Alright, as always, I've been Andrew. You've been watching the Scrapbox. Do all the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal. You know the spiel. It's actually very hot right now. I'm gonna go lay face down on the floor. You guys have a great rest of your day. See you later. Bye-bye.